Hi, everybody. This is Janet, and this is the story of turning a sewing table into a chess table. This is what a friend got me. She found it on the side of the road just to let you know that it had a sewing machine inside, and it looked like it was stored in a barn because it was really weathered, and on top of it, it was really dirty. So the first thing I had to do was take out this sewing machine. Now, what I didn't know then that I know now is that these sewing machines were built to last. These sewing tables were nothing to sneeze at. Once I removed the veneer or the underside, I was able to wrestle with a dowel that would not come out, and then also start unscrewing these very sturdy screws to get the prize out of its well. This is an iron machine. I believe that it is from the 1930s or 40s, but it is made by a company called White. White sewing machines began with the treadle, the kind that you push with your foot, and then went on to this electric kind. The following day, I took TSP and cleaned up the house. Now that it was lighter and easier to move, I had to figure out what to do with it. It was a beautiful piece of furniture. The top, like I said, took the worst of it. I cleaned it with white vinegar and water in the sink because it had to keep getting rinsed because it was dirty. There was mud coming off of it. Some of the stains didn't come out, so I used oxalic acid and let it wait for a day. Once I looked at the table and got all of the tough little nooks and crannies cleaned, I realized it was very much like a chess table. A regulation chess table is 50 to 55 centimeters tall, or 19.7 to 21.7 inches tall. This table is 21 inches tall. So I decided in order to make it a chess table, I would have to cut out that one side that was taller. It used to hide the sewing machine. I would have to make it the same size as the other side. So I marked it off, believed that it was 6 inches on each side, used a level, and then took my trusty skill saw and started cutting away at this beautiful wood. It made me guilty that I was chopping it up, and I didn't go in a completely straight line, and that will come back to haunt me. Since I had my skill saw out, I also decided to make this less of a sewing machine table and more of a place where we could put a box to hold chess or checkers pieces. The leftover wood I would use to make a box, but I also had to go and sand down what I had just sawn. As you can see, the actual piece of furniture is actual wood. It's solid wood. There wasn't any veneer on it except for the top. This is the wood that I decided to use. I found some old plywood in the garage and cut out what looked like a shoebox to hold the game pieces in. I wanted to make sure that these pieces were measured correctly. I actually had Mario help me measure. Once I was satisfied that I had enough pieces to make a box, I told Mario what I wanted to do. And then the next day when I came home from work, he had assembled this box. All I had to do was sand it down. So I put it into the actual well where the sewing machine used to be, and I realized it was probably too deep. It was like a shoebox, and I would need something a little more shallow. This is me cutting the box down to a shallower depth. And then it would be easier to sand down because all of the sides matched. The legs had these, I don't know, flares attached to them that were just pieces of chipped wood, and when I tried to sand it, they kept flying off. So I just decided to remove all of them and make the legs more of an up and down simple leg. Washing it again with vinegar and water, and just seeing that I would have to fill in those cracks to make it look like one piece of furniture. I used a simple wood putty. It took a couple of days to dry because, as usual with wood putty, it looks like you've done it well, and the following day you see that there's cracks or it recesses, it retreats into itself. The following day I sanded with a 220 grit, just getting it ready for just a walnut finish. It's already got that walnut look. But I decided to paint the underside of the top and the inside of the box with a pale spray paint, because at that moment I was pretty convinced that those legs, being in the condition that they were, I'd have to spray them. This is a Rust-Oleum 2-in-1 primer and paint in one. It gave a really even coat, and I think that I had gone maybe 3 passes with wood putty. I chose to leave that there just to remind me that it used to be a sewing table. But it actually looked like it belonged there. The following day, you can see that it does look like once the top will be in place, when you open it, you will see that the box looks like it's on purpose. I used frog tape, which gives these nice clean corners. Also using frog tape, I alternated the green with the yellow, which is used for delicate surfaces or surfaces that you've just painted. I had gone over the actual top with a Minwax dark walnut stain, and I figured that I would just spray paint with that same pale kind of a beigeish color to make this beautiful checkerboard. It came out so nice. This looks like it took no time at all. Because it was a chessboard or checkerboard, it would have to be framed. And to do that, I would also use a Rust-Oleum product. First, I would start with this Tester's Craft. It is a matte acrylic. It's a kind of a very light brown. I thought it would make a good base for me to do, and then we could add the gold later. I'm using a sponge applicator just to make a very clean line, clean border. After I applied this, I used Rust-Oleum's Craft a glitter paint and put a beautiful glittery gold finish on top of it. It's important to stir this particular product up because it's not the same as spray painting something gold. This has little flecks of gold inside of it looks like a clear paint. That's why I wanted that light brown base, so that I would paint on this glittery clear paint, and it would give the glittery gold accent to the light brown base. I had to take great care to lift up the tape, and even then I pulled up some of the actual paint. So I had to do some touch-ups. For the finishing the rest, I used a rosin modified tung oil by Waterlocks in a satin finish. It has a brownish tinge to it, and I made the mistake of putting some of it on the white paint before I realized what I was doing, and I wanted to make sure that I treated the wood with the care that I should have. So for the top, because it had white paint, I chose to do this spar urethane. It is usually for outside products or outside wood. They use it for decks. But because I knew this would have a lot of wear and tear, and just slathered it on, knowing that it was going to be used a lot. When it was all done and dry, I reattached the hardware, and after I had cleaned it, and had Mario help me hold it in place while I attached this to the table. Now from the outside, it looked stunning. I thought it looked really good. And then when we set up the chessboard, I looked up how to set up a chessboard, and my heart sank. All of a sudden, I realized to set up a chessboard, the directions said, please ensure that there is a white square on the bottom right-hand corner.
Oh no!
So I had to do the whole thing all over again. This time, I had to sand it down, and the white spray paint stayed inside of the grooves of the table, and the darker squares now have like a whitish tinge to them. But the most important thing is that the squares are now in the bottom right-hand corner where people will sit. Here's proof right here. White in the bottom right-hand corner. Thumbs up. So, here's me taking it all apart again. I will never make this mistake again. If you do want to use spray paint, keep in mind that spray paint is going to get into nooks and crannies. Anyway, I think it turned out good. I redid the gold again. And here's the tape coming off. The good news is that I was able to see that the bottom light brown coat probably wasn't necessary. So I just used the Rust-Oleum glitter paint for this frame. Also, as I was refinishing, I was able to see some other blemishes that needed attention, and I was able to fix those. There's always a reason for a mess up. I love it when the tape comes off. I decided to seal it before I started with the top coat. This seal was basically done just to make sure that that gold glitter paint wouldn't move. This is the end result. And as you can see, when we have two chess players facing each other, the white square is in the bottom right-hand corner. It took about 3 or 4 coats of polyurethane on top to make it look warm and inviting. So what do you think? Please leave a comment. Oh, and by the way, you want to see the inside again? There's the chess pieces. I challenge you to a game. So, from a sewing table on the side of the road to this, it's restored. Thanks for watching.